Stop looking at the engine block. Stop obsessing over the battery range numbers. Those are yesterday's wars. For the last 100 years, the automotive industry has successfully distracted you with horsepower figures and leather stitching while neglecting the single most important component of a vehicle, the connection to the reality of the road. We have been sold a comfortable, expensive lie. From the Ford Model T to the latest Rolls-Royce Phantom, the fundamental physics of how a car handles a bump have remained pathetically stagnant. We have spent a century refining horse carriage technology, polishing a crude mechanical idea that was obsolete decades ago. If you walk into a Mercedes-Benz or BMW dealership today, they will sell you a flagship saloon and promise you a magic carpet ride. They will speak of air suspension, as if it were the absolute pinnacle of human achievement. They are lying to you. Air suspension is not a solution. It is a bandage. It is a passive system that relies on bags of gas and reactive valves. It suffers from a fatal flaw that no amount of German engineering can fix: the compressibility of air. Physics dictates that when a wheel hits a sharp imperfection in the tarmac, the air inside the bladder takes time to compress. There is a physical lag, a delay. By the time the computer realizes what has happened, the shockwave has already traveled through the chassis, up the seat rails, and into your spine. Even the most expensive European systems are perpetually fighting a losing battle against time, always reacting one step behind reality. But the era of the passive chassis is officially dead. The technology that defined luxury for the last 50 years has just been rendered obsolete, not by a legacy manufacturer in Stuttgart, but by a company in Shanghai that decided to rewrite the laws of physics. What we are analyzing today is not just a new car, it is the executioner of the shock absorber. This is the NIO ET9, and its SkyRide's intelligent chassis system creates a level of isolation that makes a Maybach feel like a wooden cart. We are looking at a system that doesn't just react to the road, it deletes the road. To understand why this is such a violent disruption to the industry, we must go deep into the mechanics of why the old world is failing, and exactly how this Chinese Leviathan has managed to separate the driver from the ground completely. To appreciate the violence of this engineering achievement, we must first understand the enemy: vibration. In traditional engineering, suspension is a game of compromise. It is a zero-sum game. If you want a car to handle corners like a Porsche, you need stiff steel springs, but then every pothole shatters your teeth. If you want a car to float like a Bentley, you need soft air bladders. But then the car leans and wallows like a boat in a storm. For 50 years, engineers have tried to cheat this trade-off with adaptive dampers that stiffen or soften electronically. But they are still passive. They are still waiting for the hit. The NIO ET9 deletes this entire philosophy. It introduces a fully active electro-hydraulic system that operates on a level of brutality that consumer cars have never seen before. Gone are the anti-roll bars. Gone are the traditional mechanical connections between the left and right wheels. Instead, at each corner of this 5-meter behemoth, there is an independent hydraulic pump integrated directly into the damper. This is not technology borrowed from the automotive world. This is technology derived directly from the landing gear of fighter jets. Unlike air, hydraulic fluid does not compress. It is intransigent. When the pump pushes, the car moves instantly. This system delivers a downward force of over 2,000 newtons per wheel and creates a travel distance that is simply impossible for conventional springs. While a traditional car is still thinking about how to absorb a bump, the SkyRide system has already extended the wheel, swallowed the impact, and retracted the wheel before the chassis even knows an event occurred. It maintains the body of the car perfectly flat, regardless of the chaos happening underneath the tires. This is why you see the viral footage of the Champagne Tower sitting on the bonnet. That is not a magic trick. That is the visual representation of a suspension system that is faster than gravity. To keep a pyramid of crystal glasses stable while driving over speed bumps requires the chassis to have zero pitch, zero roll, and zero heave. The suspension is actively pushing the wheels down into the depressions of the road to ensure the body does not drop a single millimeter. It is surgical precision applied to a 3-ton machine. Brute force versus the scalpel. We must address the elephant in the room immediately. This channel previously documented the incredible capabilities of the BYD Yangwang U9 and its DiSus-X system. That video showed a car jumping off the ground and driving on 3 wheels. It was a display of raw power that woke the world up to the reality of Chinese engineering dominance. However, we need to draw a distinct line between what BYD achieved and what NIO has perfected. They are fighting 2 different wars, and understanding this difference is key to understanding the future of the industry. BYD's system is a sledgehammer. It is designed for ruggedness, for saving the car in extreme scenarios, for preventing rollovers, and for off-road dominance. It is impressive, yes, but it is violent. NIO, thus, on the other hand, has built a scalpel. The ET9's SkyRide system, developed in partnership with the American firm ClearMotion, is obsessed with the vertical Z-axis and the high-frequency vibrations that cause human fatigue. The BYD jumps, the NIO glides. The difference lies in the refinement of the hydraulic control. When the NIO ET9 encounters a washboard road surface, those high-frequency ripples that usually make a car shudder, the pumps oscillate at a speed that creates a noise-canceling effect for the road. Just as your headphones cancel out the drone of an aeroplane engine using anti-noise, the SkyRide suspension cancels out road texture using anti-vibration. It reads the road surface thousands of times per second and generates an equal and opposite force to neutralize the imperfection. BYD proved that China could break the suspension limits. NIO is proving that China can out-refine the Rolls-Royce standard. We are moving from the age of capability to the age of absolute mastery. There is a specific viral clip of the ET9 that the internet treated as a gimmick. The car shaking itself like a wet dog to remove snow. While it makes for entertaining social media content, most people missed the terrifying engineering implication behind that movement. To shake a vehicle of this mass, 5 meters long and weighing nearly 3 tons, with that level of frequency and violence requires an energy discharge that would melt the electrical system of a standard European car. You cannot achieve this with a standard 12-volt system. You cannot even achieve this with the modern 48-volt mild hybrid architectures found in the latest Audi or Land Rover models. Those systems would blow their fuses and overheat their motors in seconds. The NIO ET9 creates this motion because it sits on a 900-volt architecture. This is the highest voltage standard in the mainstream industry, surpassing even the Porsche Taycan and the Tesla Cybertruck. This high-voltage backbone allows the suspension motors to draw immense peak power in milliseconds. It provides the muscle required to manipulate the car's weight as if it were a toy. That snow shake is a flex. It is the engineers showing off the thermal management and power density of their brushless motors. It is a warning to the competition that this car has more power dedicated just to its suspension than some city cars have for their actual propulsion. It is a demonstration of excess capability that serves to humiliate any competitor trying to do the same with a lower voltage system. But this massive power street runs 2 ways. This is where the genius of the system truly shines, and where the gap between East and West becomes embarrassing. The SkyRide system is regenerative. In a traditional car, when you hit a bump, the kinetic energy of that impact is converted into heat by the oil in the shock absorber and wasted. It dissipates into the atmosphere. It is lost energy. The NIO ET9 captures that vertical energy. As the wheel is forced up by a bump, the motion spins the hydraulic motor in reverse, turning it into a generator. The worse the road, the more electricity the car recovers. It effectively harvests the roughness of the terrain to charge its own battery. This is a level of efficiency that makes the internal combustion engine look like a prehistoric fire pit. The West tries to build dampers that can survive the heat of a rough road. The Chinese decided to turn that heat back into range. It is a fundamental shift in mindset. You are no longer fighting the environment. You are harvesting it. If you want to completely humiliate the old-school driving experience, fixing the bumps is not enough. You have to kill the vibration in the driver's hands. Open the bonnet of a BMW M5 or any driver-focused car, and you will see a metal shaft connecting the steering wheel to the front axle. It is a physical link. It is a bridge for vibration. If the front tires hit a patch of rough concrete, that shock travels up the rack, through the metal shaft, and directly into your palms. It is road feel, yes, but it is also fatigue. NIO has deleted the steering column. It is gone. The ET9 utilizes a fully steer-by-wire system. There is no mechanical connection between your hands and the tarmac. It is all data. The steering wheel is simply a game controller, sending digital signals to redundant motors on the steering rack. Traditionalists scream about safety, but this is aviation-grade technology with triple redundancy. If the primary motor fails, a backup takes over in microseconds. The result is absolute isolation. The NIO SkyRide chassis isolates your body from the heave of the road, and the steer-by-wire isolates your hands from the buzz of the asphalt. You are effectively floating in a capsule, disconnected from the violence of the environment. And because there is no physical shaft limiting the geometry, the rear axle is free to do things that were previously impossible. The benefits of deleting the mechanical links extend to the handling geometry. The rear wheel steering on the ET9 can turn up to 8.3 degrees. This allows a car the size of a limousine to turn with the radius of a compact hatchback. It allows for maneuvers that defy logic. But the real magic happens in the corners, because the car controls every wheel independently. It introduces flat cornering. In a normal car, physics dictates that when you turn left, the body rolls to the right. The outside suspension compresses. The NIO deletes this equation. As you turn the wheel, the hydraulic pumps on the outside of the turn pump up to counteract the G-force. The car stays perfectly level. It doesn't lean. It defies the lateral forces that your inner ear expects, creating a sensation of gliding that is completely alien to anyone who has driven a traditional car. It corners like a go-kart, but rides like a hovercraft. It creates a cognitive dissonance where your eyes see the violence of the turn, but your body feels nothing. This brings us to the uncomfortable truth for the legacy manufacturers in Europe. For decades, the benchmark was the Mercedes S-Class. It was the gold standard. If you wanted the best ride in the world, you bought German. But the Germans are now trapped in their own legacy. They are refining technologies from the 20th century, polishing a candle while China has invented the light bulb. Porsche has recently released the YAS Active Ride on the new Panamera, a system that is very similar to what NIO is doing here. It is an incredible piece of engineering. However, there is a critical difference. Porsche charges an absolute fortune for this technology, and it is reserved for their absolute top-tier FIES most expensive models. And even then, it is running on a lower voltage architecture than the NIO. NIO is democratizing the impossible. They are putting technology that is arguably superior to the best Porsche can muster into a car that is mass-produced for the premium market, at a speed that makes European development cycles look glacial. The European development cycle is 5 to 7 years. The Chinese development cycle is 24 months. By the time Mercedes responds to the ET9 with a prototype, NIO will have already released the ET10. The gap is not closing, it is widening. We are witnessing a changing of the guard. The hydraulic era of passive dampers is dead. It is walking dead. It will linger in cheap economy cars for decades, of course. But at the top of the mountain, in the world of flagship luxury, the passive shock absorber is now a museum piece. The NIO ET9 has not just raised the bar, it has removed the bar and replaced it with a computer-controlled hydraulic levitation system. The question is no longer whether Chinese engineering can catch up to the Germans. That question is 5 years old. The question now is, do the Germans have the electrical architecture, the software integration, and the sheer speed of development to survive this? Looking at the ET9, holding its tray of champagne steady at 40 miles per hour, the answer seems to be a resounding no. The king is dead. Long live the new king.